They say if you want something bad enough, you go to the Crossroads at midnight. You bring a guitar, a song, and a little piece of your soul to trade. Me? I was desperate. Another Tuesday night, another empty open mic. The applause was polite, the kind you give a kid who just finished a school play. My fingers felt like clumsy sausages on the fretboard. My voice cracked, and the lyrics I'd poured my heart into might as well have been a grocery list. I packed up my gear, the silence of the bar owner wiping down tables louder than any applause I'd gotten. Driving home, the streetlights smeared through my windshield, blurring with the frustrated tears in my eyes. I'd practiced for years, written hundreds of songs, bled for my art. But I was just mediocre. And mediocrity doesn't pay the rent. That night, something inside me snapped. The legends, the old blues stories about Robert Johnson selling his soul for guitar skills. It was all just folklore, right? But what if it wasn't? What did I have to lose? My dignity? I'd lost that playing to a crowd of 3 people and a sleepy dog. So I grabbed my beat-up acoustic, the one I'd had since I was 15, and I got back in my car. I knew the place. An old intersection out past the city limits, where 2 dirt roads crossed under a single flickering streetlight. No houses for miles, just fields of corn that rustled in the dark, like they were whispering secrets. I pulled over just before midnight. The air was heavy and thick with the smell of damp earth and something else, something metallic and old. My car's clock ticked over to 12 o'clock. I got out, guitar in hand, and walked to the center of the Crossroads. The wind was dead calm. The only sound was the buzz of the streetlight and the frantic thumping of my own heart. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, feeling like the biggest idiot in the world. I was about to turn around to just go home and accept my fate as a failed musician when I heard it. A voice smooth as velvet, but cold as a tombstone. It didn't come from any direction, it was just there, all around me, inside my head. What do you want? I jumped, my guitar clattering against my leg. I spun around, scanning the darkness. Nothing, just the endless rows of corn standing like silent soldiers. Who's there? I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. The only reply was a low chuckle that seemed to vibrate in my bones. It was a sound totally devoid of warmth, of humor. It was the sound of ancient, absolute power. You came here for a reason, the voice continued. Don't waste my time. My throat was dry. I could feel a presence, a weight in the air pressing down on me. I was being watched by something I couldn't see, something that had been waiting in this spot for a very, very long time. All my carefully rehearsed speeches, my bargaining pleas, they all evaporated. I just blurted it out, a pathetic, desperate stream of words. I want to be the best. I want to play guitar like a god. I want people to hear my songs and feel something. I want them to remember my name. I want success. The silence that followed was terrifying. I thought maybe I'd said the wrong thing. Maybe the price was too high. Maybe it was all a prank. Then the voice laughed again. Done. That was it. Just done. No sulfurous smoke, no contract written in blood, no devil with a pitchfork. I stood there, trembling, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Nothing. The heavy presence in the air lifted. The wind picked up, rustling the corn leaves again. The world felt normal. I scrambled back to my car, threw my guitar in the passenger seat, and peeled out of there, spraying gravel in my wake. All the way home, I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. Stress, lack of sleep, a weirdly timed auditory hallucination. Yeah, that was it. I stumbled into my apartment, my hands still shaking. I tossed my keys on the counter, and walked past the long mirror in my hallway. And then I froze. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. I was there, in the reflection, my messy hair, my pale face, my rumpled jacket, but my shadow? It was gone. I looked at the floor behind me. There was the shadow of the floor lamp, the shadow of the coat rack, but there was no shadow of me. My blood ran cold. I slowly raised my hand, watching my reflection do the same. The hand in the mirror moved perfectly in sync, but on the wall behind it, there was nothing. No dark shape mimicking my movement. It was just a flat, empty wall. My heart hammered against my ribs. It wasn't my imagination. It was real. But that wasn't even the worst part. I tried to look my reflection in the eyes, and I couldn't. My reflection wouldn't meet my gaze. Its head was bowed, its face pointed toward the floor, its shoulders slumped. It looked ashamed, terrified, like a prisoner staring at its own executioner. I took a step closer, and my reflection took a step closer, but it still wouldn't look up. It was me, but it was a version of me filled with a sorrow so profound it was almost visible. I backed away from the mirror, a scream caught in my throat. I needed a distraction. I needed to know if the first part of the deal was real. I snatched my guitar from its case. My fingers, usually so hesitant, found the strings with an impossible grace. I started to play a simple chord progression, one I'd fumbled 1,000 times. But this time it was different. The notes poured out clean, sharp, and full of a power I'd never known. My fingers danced across the fretboard, moving faster and more precisely than I'd ever dreamed possible. A melody bloomed from the strings, intricate and beautiful and heartbreakingly sad. It wasn't just technically perfect. It was alive. It was the music I'd always heard in my head but could never, ever create. It was incredible. It was a miracle. For an hour, I just played, lost in the sound. I was brilliant. I was a genius. The deal was real. But then, I caught a glimpse of myself in the darkened window. My reflection was there, my fingers a blur on the guitar, and it was crying. Silent tears streamed down its face, its mouth a tight line of agony. It was playing the same beautiful music, but it was doing so in utter misery. Every chord, every note seemed to be tearing it apart. That was the price. Not my soul, not in the way the stories tell. The voice at the crossroads didn't take my soul, it just uncoupled it from my shadow. It took the part of me that feels joy in creation, the part that dreams and hopes, and it trapped it in the mirror. It left me with the raw, mechanical talent, but it took the artist. Now I have everything I ever wanted. I'm playing sold-out shows. Critics are calling me the voice of a generation. People scream my name. But every time I pass a mirror, every time I see my reflection in a shop window or a puddle on the street, I see him. My other self. My shadow. And he's always crying, weeping for the music we're making. A silent, eternal scream in a world of glass. So if you ever find yourself at a crossroads at midnight, be careful what you ask for. And be very, very sure you know what you're trading. Some prices aren't paid in blood. They're paid in pieces of yourself you never knew you couldn't live without. Thanks for listening. Follow for more Midnight Manuscripts.